Welcome back, everyone. Here's part 2 of Cameras in Middle-earth. Let's flow.
Waves left. Left! This was kind of, it was such a
my
surreal
goodness.
experience.
I love learning about this process. Yes, indeed. You know, they're just telling us stuff that we would never have known. Like, I would never have even considered that they had to sit on a bicycle seat, you know? I was already floored by the fact that the animatronic was holding them, but the fact that they were so uncomfortable and they endured it for all of that time. Oh, good for them. Mount Sunday.
The set's taken 8 months to build. And we really got not much more than 8 days to shoot.
Are you kidding?
Then it'll be gone. So
8 months to build, 8 days to shoot. What is happening?
Survival film for many generations to come. They'd started building the set before I ever.
That is just outrageous.
Gigantic build down there. They said we should go down and take a look.
8 months to film. 8 months to build it and 8 days to film. What? And then they're going to destroy it.
You drove
so
down more gravel roads. And there was a huge mountain range which surrounded a giant plain.
What can you do though?
Basically, in the middle of this plain, there was one little hill, like a mountain.
Look at this. All of this just to get there.
An hour from the nearest town. And it was a very big location for us. We had, a lot of horses, or a couple hundred extras there. I came back and I looked at Pete and he said, "How'd you like it?" I said, "What the hell were you thinking about? You picked that location." He said, "Well, it's a great location." I said, "Yeah, it's a great location, but how the hell are we going to do that?"
Okay. The first time I saw it, it really was like something out of a fantasy or something out of a dream to see it all built there. And it really did make my heart skip a beat when I saw it.
We weren't allowed to have cameras, but we did. I didn't, but because I'm too much of a chicken. But other braver souls than me took pictures of the view from the top of Everest, and they look at it as nothing compared to what it was like there. There's just no picture. There's not the movie. No one can compare with how beautiful that was.
You could shoot it from any angle. You could get up a helicopter and shoot all the way around it. The whole thing with all the mountains and everything was the set.
Although the camera work was sensational, the cinematography was as good as you're going to get anywhere at any time.
Okay, yeah.
With any amount of money. It still didn't do it justice.
No, and I think
I heard
actually, gives the film a lot of feeling that, and I think it did help people's performances. They are going to deliver differently when they're standing on an epic location with a staggering backdrop than if they're standing on a blue screen. But they have these high winds that come whistling down the valley.
One of the days I was shooting, walking along the top, and a big gust of wind came along and my glasses got ripped off my face. And I just sort of managed to turn and I saw these things sort of like tumbling in the air, a bit like the flag that blows away from Iowa. These were the sort of surreal image of my glasses were tumbling, just going over the cliff and disappearing.
This was the location that created the wind tunnels, right?
And, I spent the rest of the day, I didn't have a spare pair, so I was sort of blurry and kind of the monitor kind of was all very bit foggy and hazy.
No, look at that. Wow.
Yeah, I got to spin on Beagles. Actually, it never really made it. It was so windy that you could see the spit would head toward his hand and make this sharp corner.
Wow.
It was really windy.
Oh my goodness.
Brad's very much a method actor. He had to do this English accent, this sort of worm-tonguish voice.
But this order doesn't come from me. It comes from the king.
And I never heard him talk in his real voice, ever, because he would just not get out of character. So he was basically Wormtongue. We were like having breakfast and lunch with Wormtongue.
Oh, really?
Big 10-4.
I remember on the very last day of shooting, on the very last shot, when I said, "Okay, we've got it," and the first thing he said, he just completely converted into American accent. He said, "I can talk American again. Thank God for that." And that was the first time I ever heard him talk like Brad. I think Bernard said, I think he had the funnest remark. He said, "I sounded like I had some really terrible, phony American accent. It just sounded really awful. I thought I was sending it up."
Wow. And that's his normal tone, his normal voice.
Eowyn is one of the great characters of the trilogy.
Another wildman walking through the Westfold.
We wanted it to really be a piece of casting that ultimately was a surprise to people because we wanted someone who everyone could just believe was Eowyn. And amongst all the auditioning we did, there on one of the audition tapes, wonderful Australian actress Miranda Otto.
Women of this country learned long ago. Those without swords could still die. Miranda was, had got to set that day, and they had this, dialogue to do, and then she was supposed to wield this sword around. When we came to shoot it, none of the stunt people were available. They were all like in different places. And I got this call, and it was someone on set saying, "Can you come down? It's an emergency. We don't know what to do, and the stunt team's off on set somewhere else, and there's nobody here." That knows how to use a sword. Can you come down? It was great working with a woman on it for a change. I'd worked with a lot of the stunt guys and they were brilliant, but it was interesting seeing it from a woman's perspective, and a woman she's a very capable swordswoman, and the whole idea of putting a sword out of a box and what would you do with it in that sort of situation. Yeah. And so she kind of choreographed the whole thing. It was like, no, it's easy. Here, we'll do this and then this. And, thank God she has a good dance background. She's able to pick it up really quickly.
Oh, good. Yeah.
You have some skill with the blade.
Look at her face.
From the point that they leave Edoras to the point that they arrive at Helm's Deep, that entire journey of the refugees from Edoras, and all of that is done at Deer Park Heights, which is just right outside Queenstown, in this very small but incredibly handy location. The Wargatech of the Two Towers is not actually in the book, but it's something that I always wanted to do, because 2 or 3 times within the book, very briefly, Tolkien mentions Warg, but he doesn't really have them do much. They're just part of the armies that attack in various battles.
The original thought was that the Warg battle, instead of occurring on the plains of Rohan as its kind of ambush, was that the Wargs would attack Edoras at night.
Okay.
Because we decided ultimately that Edoras was going to be built on location, we now couldn't really shoot it at night. It was just becoming impossible to do. And I didn't want to lose the Wargatech, so we thought, okay, well, let's wait till they're on the way to Helm's Deep. The problem with the Warg fight ultimately became one in which it wasn't really adequately planned beforehand. We just simply ran out of time, and John Mahaffey, our second unit director, was due to shoot some of the Warg fight. And I remember, he came to me about a week beforehand. He says, "Now, have you actually given this much thought? What is it that we're supposed to be doing here?" And I thought, "Oh, God, I haven't really."
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I remember sitting on the set.
It was last minute.
Rivers, and we just came up with ideas for the Warg fight about, just different gags and what could happen and how the progression of the fight would occur.
The Warg fight was a jigsaw of pieces that has gone together, I think, reasonably well, considering the limitations of that location.
All the shots of the Wargs essentially involved filming nothing, because the Wargs were digital creations. So every shot was the actors just swinging swords at nothing, and you're looking at shots of people rolling around, and it looks like you've just arrived at some asylum.
Look at this.
At the time, it felt like a lot of nonsense. I mean, when you're sort of slashing at things and firing at things that aren't
my goodness. And then what, they just impose it in
just go, Pete knows what
later?
For my sequence,
superimpose it in?
had a huge piece of yak hair covered warg that falls on top of me. All I can say is warg plus rather heavy stunt guys on top of you. It's quite heavy, actually. And when you see the air going out of poor old Gimli when it gets dropped on him, that wasn't too far from the truth.
Oh.
When Jed Brophy riding that warg bears down on me, and I grab on.
Look at this.
Oh
my God.
That was all made up, and we shot everything we could there on this sort of mechanical,
that was all made up?
thing.
The great thing about working with Viggo is he's 120, 130%er. There's no 80% for the rehearsal when we're doing a scene where he wanted me to strangle him, and he said, "I want to see marks on my neck. I want to feel like I'm choking, so I'm fighting against that."
That's
and there was
too
a
much.
point there where we actually had to do a headbutt, and we actually really headbutted. And if I hadn't had the rubber head on...
Ooh. Ouch.
Thank you. Check the gate, please. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
The scene we filmed where Aragorn comes down the river and comes into this eddy and then gets washed up on a beach.
Yeah, I knew he wasn't dead.
Stone River, absolutely beautiful place. And it is really a little part of the river that had some rapids in it. And we had a stunt guy lined up to do this sequence, but Viggo wanted to do it himself.
Oh.
The safety guys, the river rafting guys do it in wetsuits, and they floated down and they figured out how it worked. What they couldn't calculate was the weight of all the stuff, The way, there's just things that changed the way it was for me, I guess, floating down. The sword, the boots, the wool cloak that got wet, and it was just like an anchor. So in any case,
very brave, because no thank
float
you.
To exactly the same spot they had, and I hit this spot where the current hit this rock and went straight down. And before I knew it, I was on the bottom.
The guys in the safety boats were like, "Where is he? What the hell is going on?"
Oh my goodness!
And the current was so powerful, it was keeping him down.
It took him down?
I didn't have any air in my lungs hardly, because, when you're really cold water, your lungs kind of come together and you don't have. It's
freezing. Yeah.
I guess I must eventually kicked against the wall or the rock and got just out of where this current was pushing down. Came out. It was really scary.
I'm surprised he didn't panic.
But doing it was interesting.
Yeah.
Originally, we weren't going to show how Vigo did on the horse, but Vigo really wanted to capture that on camera.
Yeah. Head down, push him.
I would go out.
Oh, look at that.
On the Sunday or in the evening, sort of on a daily basis, to get used to the horse doing that, and the horse used to me. And as you see in the movie,
did you see that horse?
It really worked.
We filmed
Take
that
a
scene on the
direction
Hutt
like
River, and you're sitting there as a producer watching one of your leading men in the movie.
Wow.
Lying on the ground with this horse coming over to him and kneeling next to him. And you're thinking,
look at this.
Just falls over a little bit. And it goes one way, the other.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
Steps on Vigo.
That's true.
We have a big problem. All I know is the scene worked and nothing happened to Vigo, thank goodness.
And then,
listen, that is so much faith right there.
The way that Urias actually in that shot, the moment where he's hurt.
Because he's so close.
That's sort of
the freaking horse is acting.
It's really funny.
I cannot.
Perfect in a way. It was almost like he was speaking or something.
Yeah.
Anytime you ever make a movie that's set in summer, you will invariably be filming it in the winter. When you are making a movie about the winter, invariably you'll be shooting it when it's 114 degrees in the shade.
We had this great location all picked down, and it had been nice and warm and sunny. And the next morning we were going to get up and move up to this location up in the mountains.
And the day before we're due to shoot it, the snow starts falling, and it's like, oh, I see some snow. Let's see if it...
Oh.
So we got the next morning, and this whole...
He got on shorts.
Frozen,
I knew
it was covered with snow.
We'll have a little bit of a look around, see what we can do for a shot.
So we got all the electricians to bring up all the big lights that we had. We got the effects guys to bring out their big fans.
So snow wasn't a part of it, no?
And we had the local fire departments up there with their fire trucks hosing down the snow. So we managed to melt away enough of the snow and ice in a couple hours.
The thing is, the snow was melted away, but it didn't necessarily make the water any warmer. And Andy actually had to be flopping around in the water.
I'm going to be splashing around. I'm going to be looking for fish and getting hypothermia.
And he had a wetsuit on.
Cold therapy.
But it didn't help. It was absolutely freezing cold.
This is Gollum's high point, actually.
Yeah, it's going to be freezing.
I have to counterbalance with my low point that I'm feeling at this moment.
Good luck, Andy.
I mean, all the physical
what a trooper.
That I've talked about, that I said I did on Gollum, kind of completely went out the window when
the
water, because it was unbelievably cold.
Yes.
When people actually, when I first went in, I really felt like I've been punched in the chest, and my heart felt like it just stopped working. I was instantly, all the extremities just froze up. I was just numb. I was numb.
And he's actually heading towards us, this like...
How good are you?
On the edge of a waterfall, and I was so terrified that somehow the cold would make his brain go numb, and he just keeps slipping his phone and disappear over the edge. So God knows how many times I said to Andy, "No, don't forget to stop, Andy." And I actually had a couple of guys positioned down there, and I said, "Listen, if he looks like he's going too far and getting too close to the edge, just step in there and grab him."
Right. Okay.
It's kind of what the whole movie was, because there wasn't anything that anybody wasn't willing to try.
Because cold water is rough.
We never just walked away from something because it was a little more difficult or a little harder than it could be on a different day. If it was doable, if it was possible, we generally tried to do it. And that's, Pete and Barry, the whole group. I mean, it just starts from the top down.
Mm-hmm. Look how happy he looks.
It was freezing, but it was the energy needed to keep going through, man.
Yeah, exactly. And there go Gollum, replacing him.
Too far ahead. Call them names. Run them down all the time.
we wanted to increase the tension between Frodo and Sam. We wanted to sort of up the ante a little bit. So we wrote the scene where they have an argument. This location was actually right on the edge of a New Zealand Army firing range where they do live firing with artillery and tanks and various other things. And we obviously had their permission to film there.
Yeah.
And I remember there we were in the middle of shooting a shot of Elijah, and Sean was saying, "It's the ring, isn't it?" And just about almost perfect timing, right when he says it's the ring, isn't it? There's this god-awful explosion, like really seriously loud.
Why?
It's the ring. The ring.
And the camera's rolling, and kind of everyone just freaks because we just don't know what this thing is. We all start.
Yeah.
You hear that?
Like,
yeah, I hear that. Do you hear that? Yeah, I hear that. What is it?
And they were actually shooting off weapons down
did
below.
they forget they were filming
right now? And are we about to be bombarded with incoming rounds of artillery from the New Zealand Army?
And Elijah just kind of, he barely registers it because he's right in the middle of his performance. He kind of flinches and just keeps on going.
I don't know why I said that.
It's the ring. When you work for Peter Jackson, you know, he is a very clever director, and he will do anything to get a good performance out of his actors. And that, I suppose, includes calling in an airstrike to help raise the ambient level of fear of a given moment.
Okay.
So, you know,
Elijah didn't really react, did he? He just kept going. Wow.
David
Very
Wenham, who's
interesting.
an Australian actor that we've admired for a long time, played Faramir. David has a nice family resemblance to Sean Bean.
Similar sort of facial qualities. I'm not talking about a big nose. I mean, I've got a big nose.
It's true though. Look, yeah, absolutely. We both have big.
I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah.
And you can see my profile. Before the sequences with Faramir and after, it was literally Gollum and Sam every day. So it was quite nice to actually work with another actor and to explore a new area, a new world, a new territory.
It's like Gangrel Creature.
There was a scene planned, and a portion of it is still in the movie. It's Faramir approaches Frodo in the Hanathanuan cave with his sword and pulls the ring out with his sword and is sort of talking about how he wants to take the ring from him. And Frodo's kind of backed up against the wall of the cave and freaks out. No! And originally what was planned was for that to continue.
We were going to have this moment where you actually get a glimpse, in a sense Faramir gets a glimpse of what Frodo would become if he held onto the ring, and also for Faramir what the ring is capable of doing to someone.
Yeah.
It was Gino Acevedo that applied the makeup. I mean, it was cool because I didn't actually have any major makeup for the movie except for the wig and the ears. So it was great fun to sort of physically transform for that moment.
It was an interesting point in the journey because it was a moment that placed a seed of doubt in Faramir's mind as to whether to take this ring or not. Thinking about it now, it's not necessary because they're there anyway. You know, I assume that's why it's got the snip snip.
That ended up not making the cut, but it was quite a cool little moment to just sort of, oh, geez.
I was about to say, I do not remember that at all. I'm like, I really need to watch this movie again because
on the day and that makeup was
really, I do not remember that. Look at you. I don't know. Maybe it was in the extended versions, but I do not remember.
Like London during the Blitz. It was a city under siege, and it's not just going to the world of men. To me, it was the gravitas of the situation was that it was going into war.
Gravitas.
It's sort of grittier and grainier and darker. And it was a really terrifically huge set.
It was Osgiliath. And that was the delightful and incredible thing about working on this film. You'd arrive on set, and you were in that environment. Throw all the stunt guys and the extras in full garb and whatever, and you're there. It's happening.
Okay.
There's a camera crew around and a few guys with microphones and whatever, but that aside, the whole situation was 100% real.
When I did that scene, the battlements, I was just on some boxes and with my banner, and the camera was there. And then just the cameraman and some people were just round going, hey. And it's just this few solitary voices, and you know them all as well. It's just gauging the sort of passion and volume that you should be using, because you can't actually see how many are going to be there. It could be 20,000.
Right.
It could be 20. I mean, I hope there's 20,000 because that's the way I was.
20.
That's the way I was sort of pitching my volume at.
The city of Askelia has been reclaimed.
Look at this. My goodness. Right, it's such a commanding scene, and then to see that, how they made it, where it was just the crew cheering them on. You know what I mean? Oh, just so good, because you just forget that they're acting. They're acting.
The centerpiece action of the two towers, I guess, is the Battle of Helm's Deep. It's one of those sequences which is both a joy and a curse. I have always wanted to do a big battle scene in a film.
Yeah.
And I finally got my opportunity to do it, but it was a curse because it was really tough.
Oh, really? You did so well.
We'd built some large sets for Helm's Deep in a quarry, just about 15 minutes drive.
Oh, look at that.
It looked great.
Oh, my goodness.
But it was, as it should have been, one of the grimmest places.
3-4 months out in the wild, in the wind, in a quarry in Wellington. Not a pleasant place to be.
It was a nightmare. I mean, it looked fantastic, don't get me wrong, but in terms of a working location, it was a quarry. It was a real demanding environment.
Yeah.
One of our second unit directors, John Mahaffey, who really led the charge at Helm's Deep, as it were.
And this second unit was several hundred strong and filmed with several hundred extras for 3 months of nights, about a month of day photography. Overall, it was at least 4 months of work on Helm's Deep. Everyone on the other units is really glad
4
it's
months?
not them. And that's basically what happens. And then the people that are there all go a little crazy.
After 9 weeks of night shoots in Helm's Deep, nearly all pretty much lost their marbles.
Time just crawls, you know. Then you get over the hump around 3 or 3:30 in the morning, and then you're on the home stretch for that night. Then you get 5 more days of that week, and then another week and another week. You know, so in the light of day, we looked like these creatures, like crazy cockroach people.
People were now pale.
He said we look like these creatures.
Well, he must be at Helm's Deep because, you know, he's pale. He hasn't seen any sunlight for a bit.
The conditions in those night shoots were uncompromising. When you've got 100 guys dressed in prosthetic suits and you're filming through the night, you fit these guys out. You ask them to stand there. And then in that early part of the sequence, the rain starts. So now here you've got these guys standing out there and you turn on the rain machines. You know, it's like the toughest football training you could ever put these guys through.
Right. Yeah.
You're a grown man, for God's sake, on a battlement, in a quarry, in 70 pounds of costume, in the rain, at night. It's madness.
But it was
it is madness.
So it was quite a long day for us, but we had a great bond. Because if there was nothing to do, we would sit there and sing songs.
They were pretty good at making you enjoy the good part and probably not focus too much on all the bad times.
I think I've lost my mojo, baby. Yeah.
At one stage, one guy would start tapping his spear on the ground, and then another guy beside him would start. Before you know it, you've got the whole 100 guys all rhythmically beating their spears, and one guy would start singing, they'd all start swaying and dancing like this, and that's where the idea evolved. Well, once they come up before they charge, there's the standoff that actually came from the boys filling in time, and it developed into a dramatic piece within the movie, which is very powerful. You know, once you're sitting there and thinking of 10,000 warriors all putting this challenge with their spears.
Yeah, it looks so good.
3, 2, 1, action!
Whoa, ooh.
My whole family snowboard. So, you know, I said to Pete, wouldn't it be cool if Legolas, who's got this superior balance, you know, flicks the shield and rides down the stairs as a way of getting to the action quickly to save Aragorn and Gimli, who are now in the heat of the battle.
We just rigged a cable that ran parallel with the fall of the stairs. Once the stunty had had a few runs in it and got it pretty well dialed in, then Orlando was pretty keen to give it a crack.
Morgan went down my stunt double, and he was doing a fine job of it. But I felt like, I said to John Mahaffey, look, if I do this, you can catch me doing it. You can see, the audience can see me do this, and I really want to do this. This is a moment for Legolas. This is a real hero moment, and I'm sure Tolkien might have probably turned in his grave. But
why would Tolkien turn in his grave? What? That's not accurate to Legolas's character? It's too flashy. What? I don't get it. But I loved it. The fact that he decided that he was going to do that is so brave, though. It's very interesting.
The elves were...
It's like, let's wait for the stunt person to do it first.
Thin
and then, once that's all clear...
A whole ragtag mob of people that were all hired because they're all thin and tall, and they all got dressed up as elves, so it wasn't a very disciplined outfit.
Who's going to march? Who's going to know how to march? Do you know how to march? So this army of elves comes in, and no one knows what to do. I don't know how to march. So we had...
he said nobody knows what to do.
And rest.
I mean, it was really like boot camp, so we had a couple of military guys that really got into it and sort of enjoyed barking out orders again.
I'm going to have to teach them how to march in time using hand signals.
Viggo was a terrific friend through the process, and so committed to the project that if I was going into battle and I needed someone to be on my right shoulder, it would be Viggo, because he just gave everything.
Okay.
He at one stage he broke his tooth.
This very hard, solid sword just went crack straight into his front tooth.
Oh my goodness!
And Viggo's front tooth snapped off. Kind of this big chunk of tooth
look
just
at
broke off
that.
and fell on the floor.
He said, "Don't worry, we'll just carry on."
He bent down, he picked up his broken tooth, and he kind of just stood there and he said, "Get some super glue. Somebody get me some super glue. We can just stick it back on and carry on shooting."
And we said, "No, Viggo, we're going to take you to the dentist. We'll get you back here in an hour when they finish lunch, and then we can finish the scene."
So we just rushed him off for emergency dental work to get this
He
tooth.
said
We were
super
obviously
glue.
freaking out.
And up to Pete's dentist and sat in the chair, and all the while he had his sword on and got his tooth fixed and went back to work.
It was like business as usual for everybody involved. And it's only
Super glue. I'm done with you.
I mentioned, I think there were a lot of, stunt people in particular that got hurt a lot worse than
He's like, these things happen.
pretty much than any of us did.
Bernard's a fantastic actor. He was immediately a huge presence. He got it, you know what I mean, straight away.
Yeah.
When he arrived.
When Bernard came down, he's just one of those people you immediately knew and was going to fit in with the rest of the cast and crew.
Yeah.
He's got those kind of jolly sort of red cheeks and a great sort of take the piss sort of biting attitude that's just hilarious.
Yeah, he's just like a big kid. He knows how to enjoy himself.
So what are you shooting?
I have no idea.
Immediately got on and established this unholy alliance with Viggo.
Stop that. Now behave yourself.
Honestly. They're both really sort of man's man. They're both jokers.
So cute.
He got away with it too. I was worried that if I did too many of those sort of things, that I'd be like, "Oh, come on, we haven't got time to muck around."
But it was good. It was kind of essential just to keep your morale up,
Viggo had this sort of slogan written on a piece of paper above his mirror, and it was "Adapt and Overcome." That sort of philosophy was central to how
Adapt
a lot of
and
us
overcome,
actually coped with.
I survived Helm's Deep.
It was a tough, sometimes frustrating, but always rewarding experience.
We talked about the fact that we didn't kill anybody, which makes me very happy. That's the only thing that I only really care that the whole world knows, so I'm really proud of that.
It was a big rolling adventure. Sometimes it was, a juggernaut that we're all, you're all on top of.
Rolling adventure. Yes, indeed.
Completely out of control, but, like you're just trying to ride it out.
Even looking back on it today, I wonder how the heck we got through all of that work.
Okay, thank you.
But we did.
I hope you got all the good footage, because today was a day of toils. It was no easy day. There was a lot of waiting around for the rain to stop. And then we had a little bit of sun, and then we called it quits. But we got the meat of the scene done. Accomplished.
Good.
Satisfying.
And scene.
Oh, was that it? Okay, yeah. Let's go on to the next one. Oh, next one is big-atures. Uh-oh. Can't wait for that one. All right, so we're going to stop that here. Oh, I just love it. I love it. I love it. I'm never going to get used to the fact that there are cameras in Middle Earth, right? In that my favorite people are actors. Like, because when I watch the movies, you know, you forget that it's just a movie. And I'm like really immersed in the world and just loving every minute of it. And then, of course, with the behind the scenes, it's like I keep having these moments like, oh, yeah, Frodo's name is Sam. I mean, Frodo's name is Sean. And, no, wait. Frodo's name is Elijah and Sam's name is Sean. It's so much easier for me to just call them by their character names than to actually have to stop and like translate to what their actual name is, because, you know, they're those characters to me. And I've only watched it that one time, but I see Aragorn, I see Strider, right? I don't see Vigo, like, and they keep saying their actual names. And yeah, it just keeps reminding me that The Lord of the Rings is a movie and not like real life. If that makes sense to you guys. You know, I mean, this is so good. It's so eye-opening. I loved every minute of it, I have to say. Like I keep saying, I just can't get enough. Like everything that they are exposing, like even about like Helm's Deep, like they went even more in depth than that. Just everything that everyone has to go through. I love the fact that they even talked about the different injuries, because I thought that we had the biggest injury with Sean Astin in the scene where he was running towards the boat and then he got his foot slashed, and they had to go through the prosthetic in order to get to his actual foot in order to heal the wound. But someone broke their toes. Was that Vigo? See, I'm saying their real names. Vigo. And I don't know, it just feels strange doing that. And Legolas broke his rib, and then the stunt double actor for Gimli busted his knee. And just, you know, it's like everybody is like in, you know, like dealing with these injuries and still trying to film, on top of, you know, dealing with inclement weather and just dealing with whatever is coming up, you know, in that moment on location. And they're just instantly like, okay, well, if we can't film this scene, then let's do this scene. Oh, I love the fact that they included the fact that they actually have emergency sets just in case, you know, when they have outdoor scenes, if the weather isn't what they need it to be, then they can just go in and get the shots that they need, and, you know, just really make the best use of the day as they can. I love the fact that they included that Peter was surviving off of 3 to 4 hours of sleep every night for 14 months, because that is the only way that he was able to have his hand in everything in the way that he did. And the fact that he didn't even complain about it. I mean, how can you complain when you are the lead of the Lord of the Rings, right? Bringing this whole trilogy to life. But how he was able to just push through and to be at his best, right? To be able to still think clearly and to go above and beyond, because he wasn't just directing from the sidelines. He was in there physically doing these things and showing them what he wanted them to do. And this is every day with very little sleep. So that's very interesting. I wonder how he kept his energy up, because what in the world? I guess it was just a natural high off of, you know, working on this film, but it just really is a testimony to just the passion on this project. Like everybody was giving it their all, just and left and right and left and just giving it their all, right? And these behind the scenes, they They give us a chance to really appreciate just how much of a sacrifice these people made for us. I mean, yes, this is definitely their dream job, but there were some really nightmarish moments that they had to endure in order to, you know, get this movie made. And they did it. Like, everybody did. So I'm just so grateful for that. Right? And it's so entertaining too, the way they put it together. I like the whole idea of the actors deciding to do their own stunts just to get that better, you know, just to get the scene so that we can actually see them do it themselves. Just like with when Strider decided that he was going to be the one to go down the river. He didn't have to do that. They had a stunt double ready to do it, but he did it himself, which is very brave because that river had its way with him at one point, and he didn't even panic. He just allowed it to go, and it, you know, it all turned out well, but you don't know that going into it. So you're like literally risking your own self. And I liked how he was just very dismissive, and, you know, he broke his tooth and was like, okay, get some super glue. And he was dismissive of his injuries because he said that the stunt doubles were, you know, having to deal with injuries as well, even more serious injuries. So he just, whatever it took to get this on screen, he was willing to do it. He was seriously headbutting the other actors and was like, I want you to strangle me. And just, he wanted to be as real as it possibly could. And I felt that. You know, also with Legolas going down, deciding to be the one to go down the stairs himself in that skateboard fashion. Like, just the bravery alone, because you could fall. Like, that was very dangerous. I said it was dangerous when I thought it was a stunt double. And then turns out even the actor himself decides that he's going to do it. So, oh, it's just too good. You know, and the locations that they secured for this movie is just breathtaking. I mean, New Zealand is a masterpiece in itself. Just like what they said, where what was it, Rohan? Just the scenery around Rohan itself. You get off that helicopter and anywhere you choose to point the camera is just like this majestic sight, right? To the point to where they were all just giving cameras to just go around and take footage because it was just so breathtaking. You know, just nature itself is, you know, just beautiful when it's left untouched. It's so beautiful. And I love that they put the time in to go searching for the perfect place in order to build these sets. Right. And, you know, my mind is always just like being blown because just the amount of time and dedication and effort and energy and creative vision and all of this that goes into creating these sets that are just going to be destroyed a week or two later is just beyond me. I mean, you have to really master the emotion of non-attachment in order to pull that off, because my goodness, they did Rohan for 8 months, right? Was that Rohan or? But they did it for 8 months, and then they only needed to film for 8 days, and then you got to strike the set, you know. But what can you do? It's just the process of movie making. Movie making is chaos. Okay, that is what I am learning here. It's chaos, but somehow they were able to put all of this chaos into something that was just completely epic. So I think this is like a once in a lifetime thing, because there's so many things were going wrong, but it turned out on screen, everything was right? Everything turned out perfectly. All right, anyway, that's going to be my wrap up on this particular video, and I can't wait to get into big-atures for the Two Towers sometime next week. All right, you guys, thank you for joining me, and until next time, let's flow.